Well,
All right, everyone, it's 2 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call this workshop ordered. All right, in attendance, we have Carol, Ed, Bob, and myself, and I believe Doug is online. Is he online already?
Yes.
Okay. So,
I moved to let Doug do his thing by extenuating circumstances.
so we have a motion from Carol to allow Doug to fully participate in this meeting of the circumstances. So
Why do we need to do that since? I don't know, that was pretty wide open. But it's still, there can't, that would be an exchange.
Okay, so I have a second on that?
Yeah.
I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hey, Doug,
Thank
can you
you.
hear us?
You can
All
hear
right.
it. Yep, I'm good.
Good. All right, Ross.
All right, welcome back.
We should say that to you.
Yeah, there we go. For the record, Russ Wire, Real Estate Econometrics, the assessment methodology consultant. And today, at our last meeting, we had at the workshop, I was sent off to do a couple more things. One was to take a look at the allocation, the alternative landscape measurements and how we allocate that. And the second part was now I realized was just to add a sentence to the water management. And I did talk with Carol about that and we'll add that to it. I thought I had covered it in a lot of other places, but we'll make sure I know specifically where I need to add that. So I think the only thing I really need to go over today is the alternative landscape measurements. And then I'll explain what I will do to the final report before next 2 weeks, I guess, when we have our public hearing.
20th.
Yeah, because there's only a couple of small tweaks to it, the way it is, I mean, the way it was sent out, but unless the board has any other things that they would like to do to it. So anyway, I did send the memo out, went out last Thursday, the 27th, and the board workshop, the supervisors asked to following additional alternative measures be run through the proposed amended and restated methodology. First was to determine the landscape outside the Pelican Preserve gate and split between Pelican Preserve and Gateway, including sending the entire anticipated 200,000 outside the gate budget to Gateway. And the second was to send 160 because 40,000 of the 200,000 was specifically inside the gate was outside the gate, but it was specifically for Pelican Preserve along the wall, landscaping and the two monuments out on Colonial Boulevard. And again, the second thing was to add that language. So we go to the page 2 of this. This is where we're going to determine the assessment impact. And if the budget, if 80% of the budget is moved to the Gateway budget and the remaining portion is added to the Pelican Preserve, which is the 160 versus 40. And in here, it was pointed out, and I did catch that, was on the table 1, if you add up all the budget, it doesn't come out to 911. There were 2 pieces that were missing on that, which were GIS web portal information, holiday lighting. That all adds up to 911,000. The reason I had that in there was when we looked at last year's budget and we took the landscaping portion of the 911,000 and we used the 12.05% allocation to go outside. That was close to very $110,000, which I put over because we trying to compare the apples to apples. I put that over into the Gateway side. And this was the only reason that table is in there, so you understand that that's where the 110 came from, the government. Table 2 was the Gateway landscaping budget on roadways, which is the 1426262. And so what I ended up doing there, that 110 is included up under the contractual services. I added it over to that side. That allowed us to compare the apples to apples. So when the initial draft roadway assessment calculations, including landscaping, were completed, the consultant had already moved the 110,000 outside the gate, as I just mentioned. Since C5 and commercial properties were not a calculation of the Pelican Preserve roadways and landscaping. A new budget for all landscaping along Tree Line Avenue was generated by Ameriscape for the upcoming fiscal year 2026. So table 3 shows what their outside the gate and is going to be. And in this case, it was 167.91. So I used 160,000 And then they had let, they let you know, Chelsea, that 40,000 would be in addition for the Pelican Reserve portion. So that shows that's explained in the next paragraph. In order to calibrate that with the current, I had to take into account the 110,000, that is the gateway budget, and determine the difference to the 200,000 and 160,000. So I took the 110,000 out of the gateway budget. Then I turned around and took 160,000 and put it into the gateway budget, and then I put the 200,000 into the gateway budget. And if you go to table 4 and table 5 on, there we go. When this just takes and tells you how the budgets are revised. And then when we get to, so you can see we're version 1 and version 2, 566 and 606. So the 566 is without the 40,000. The 606 is with 40,000 into the Pelican Preserve budget. And then in the gateway, the 1626262 is 200,000 into the budget. And the 1586262 is without the Pelican Reserve in there. Finally, taking all of those budgets and all of those calculations, we go to table 6, which shows you the variance and the calculations of what would happen with those, with the adjustments. So if we take, I said it's 50 to 90,000. If you add the 110 to those two, that's how you get to the 160 and 200,000. So the new roadway assessment with 50,000 or with 160,000 to gateway. The single family drops, the multifamily drops, the C5 trips go up because they didn't have any assessment before. So they're all getting all the new assessment. The Gateway Golf Course drops. The Pelican Preserve commercial trips go up, which get allocated among all the commercial. Gateway commercial drops. And the reason for that, I know when we had talked earlier, I talked to Mr. Hedges, he was wondering about that. And the reality is the trip generation. When you have I forgot to say you turned your phone. I turned mine off.
I turned mine on.
First belly hour. Looking for the doorbell.
And it was a spam risk.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to explain the difference between the two commercials. You're going to generate many more trips off of the commercial up there because of the type of commercial it is. You have a shopping center, you have a grocery store, you have gas stations, you have tire stores and all that. Where over here, it's mostly office and that sort of commercial, and that generates less trips. And when you look at the stuff up front where you have the large distribution centers, they don't generate a lot of trips, but they do when you have a gas station. That's why the differentiation, that's why the Pelican Preserve commercial, as we call it, would be going up and the gateway would be going down. So in reality, and then the Pelican Preserve golf course trips drop and the Pelican Preserve trips drop. We had the new road. If you take the full 200,000 over there, the gateway, the single family, the multifamily drops pretty good. The C5 trips go up again, and then the gateway golf course drops. Commercial goes up, and as the gateway commercial drops not as much, the Pelican Preserve trips drop more, and the Pelican Preserve golf course trips drop more. So that was the analysis on the two difference, and it's really, it's a board decision on how you want to handle that. But I know that's what you were asking in terms.
yeah, and I now understand it.
Okay.
And clarity purposes, but for the future, first, just assume have Pelican inside the gate. That's it. Outside the gate, gone. Why continue to have that differentiation? No value to that thing.
Okay, say that again.
That what we finally settle on is the Pelican Reserve, the landscaping portion of Pelican Reserve inside the gate. Period. We don't need any more of the outside. Anything that's outside the gate, lump it all together with the commercial and handle it that.
Just the landscape.
Okay, that's interesting because I was gonna ask you, how do we handle Gateway Boulevard? It's just an arterial drip generation
Mhm.
and landscape is with it or without it?
It's with,
It's with it.
yes, ma'am.
So I was gonna suggest that we handle tree line the same way. So the landscaping of the residential streets inside Pelican, that just stays inside Pelican and that stays in the 002 budget. And then tree line and the landscaping, however we handled Gateway Boulevard, we handle tree line the same way and that goes into the
Go what?
01 budget?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, let me explain a couple of things. Number one, currently, the way we are doing it, whether the $40,000 is in there or not, is done by trip generation. So it's now measured the same way as it is over here. The other alternative, there's a third alternative to this, is you could take what you're doing, which is actually your landscaping along the wall, and you can put that within your inside budget. And then, you know, and then the rest of it is all done by trip generation.
I don't see the value of doing it myself. It just adds to the perennial confusion. Just keep it clean, inside the gate, outside.
because really tree line is just a boulevard, like Gateway Boulevard. So
Oh, I
might as well
understand.
just treat it the same.
I understand.
Okay, so I have one question. So in Gateway Boulevard, it's back of sidewalk to the road, right? I'm just trying to think of Gateway Greens because that's the easiest and the one that's the most heavily landscaped. So if they don't do that, so that's I want to clarify with you. Everything from that wall, Gateway Greens, to the back of the sidewalk is still Gateway Greens.
Well, and that's exactly,
So
we
so
had
if we're
that.
going to do that, then I would say we'll do it for Gateway Greens, we'll do it for all the other communities that way.
And if you do it that way, but then what we need to do is to take a look at that, because then the 40 goes back in there. C5 would have to have their own.
Griffin also, like, cause that.
I like the way you talk, but.
But I just think it's gonna be more.
But I gotta be fair.
Yeah,
My
It's heavy.
covenants are such that my community owns 5 feet outside the wall.
Mhm.
So between the back of the sidewalk and the wall, that landscape maintenance is mine.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't want to push that off on somebody else. That's not theirs, that's mine.
and then I think it's the same thing, if I'm not mistaken, by the previous meeting, we determined that back of the wall to the back of the sidewalk and tree line portions are Pelican Preserve.
That's,
So it's exactly what
So-
Ed is saying. So we're taking HOA property and
But
paying.
what is the plat show? Does the
And I
plat
know
show,
that's what
does the
we look
plat, does the plat show a landscape buffer easement outside the wall?
it needs to be researched.
Because,
Yeah.
because ours, all of ours, the wall is centered on the easement. 5 feet in, 5 feet out.
C5 would have to be done the same.
I have no idea what's over there.
Meeting, Tony.
That's
That's a good thing.
Yes, I had the plastic survey. I don't have,
We'll see it real quick.
yeah, I did not bring it, kind of rushed out to the office, but there was a landscape buffer easement in favor of the association along Tree Line Boulevard. Per the plat, my recollection, and whether or not the wall was there, I had to go through quickly, try to check the surveys that were performed for the golf course. I'm not sure.
So there is a, what is it, a 10-foot buffer easement?
I think it's wider than that. I'll retrieve it quickly.
Okay.
Because to me, if there's, whether there's a wall or not, if the easement goes outside, that belongs to the association. That's all there's to it.
Oh, but you could always get a easement from these, in favor of the district to do that. We've done that,
You would have to,
we've done that on a number of parcels. in Pelican.
you'd have to have the easement, what do you call it, vacated.
No, but it can be assigned to the district or they could grant an easement if they own it in fee simple.
And if they don't want to do it, then.
I just don't think, as much as I'd like to have it for my 1,500 people, I don't think it's fair. It's been ours since Christ was a child.
Well, that's the same argument I had with even why you talk about outside the gate in Pelican. We've had it since Christ was a child. If we're not gonna change it, I'm okay with leaving everything like it is. But if we're gonna change it, don't half change it.
Yeah. Yeah. Be
But
consistent.
I guess I need to have clarity on who owns the property, because that's no, and I mean, I'm really disappointed because we talked exactly about this and we talked about Timber Ridge. Because that's exactly what their board requested last year, the year before, when I walked that property. But, and then we as a board decided that no, that they were responsible. So I don't mind as long as it's the same way across the board.
Well, perhaps you want to give Tony a little bit of time to research that survey real quick, and you have additional items on your memo?
Nope,
Nope.
I don't think that's a big ticket item.
Yeah.
No,
It is something that we need consistency.
well, the difference is gonna be, if you look at Pelican Reserve, the difference is gonna be $40,000.
Well, no, that's only part of it right now. If we don't change it, if you just forget all about the language of certain portions of tree line column, they'll stay. It's either all or nothing. If it's nothing, what's the cost? If it's all, what's the cost? The 40,000 is the fly on the cherry here. If we're gonna move everything outside the gate, which I am completely comfortable with, then move it. But don't say we're not gonna move that portion because that doesn't fit what we've done since Jesus was made.
We need an answer.
We need
Yeah.
to take all of it or none of it.
I-
And I'm okay with either way we come out.
But just
Because,
like,
you know,
Ordinance,
we
I
now-
get
we
it.
now learn that, because of chip generation and everything else, the commercial properties are assessed more heavily. Well, that's a plus. And if it all comes to O2, okay. But we can't take the part that goes a plus and send it to O1, but the negative, the 40 grand or whatever, and say that stays with O2.
Then if we keep it that way, that means that when we get to the allocation of landscape, and we go to the 12.05% that comes outside, are you gonna use the actual number?
Say that again.
What goes, because the trip generation, when you're putting it inside and outside, if you're gonna keep all of that, you're gonna use all the trip generation for that 160.
Well, I don't know until it's, tell me what the data says.
Yeah.
But I'm saying from the valuation point of view, we do it one way or the other.
the other second one.
I don't care as long as we're consistent.
The language.
Or-
Well, we've never been consistent, but that's one of the things. Trying to
So
get through.
Russ, I was gonna ask you, do any of your tables in any of these things have that?
You mean in terms of all or nothing?
Yes,
No,
okay. Can you do that?
yeah. But the thing is,
Well, I mean,
What's the one
it
of
just
those
seems to me
components?
when you're thinking about it,
If it's the same thing, like,
fish,
before,
I mean,
before giving Russ that, I
you're
think
able-
we find, I don't disagree, but before we give Russ.
Yeah, before Russ goes to
before-
waste of time,
Exactly.
get Tony
We
to
need
get
to
an
get
answer.
Tony to say yes, are we talking about the same thing? And then before we even tell him anything, we say, we want Pelican and Gateway that fall within this criteria to be analyzed this way. I don't want to give Russ anything to do until.
The question,
Yeah.
Claudia, does the community association or have a responsibility for the landscaping between the sidewalk and the wall? The answer is yes. And they've always had it, but we've always done it.
Just real quickly, based upon the golf course survey that was performed when the new owner bought it, we got south of Pelican Reserve Boulevard. There's it's called ALBE. I think that's Association Landscape Buffer Easement. And it appears that there's a 6-foot chain link fence within the location. It kind of meanders in and out also.
Right, so snakes down the road,
Yes,
as does the road itself.
so I can keep, there's multiple parts to the survey.
So the question that you have is, where do you want to put the cost of that tree line avenue and the monuments and from back walk to the wall? So,
well, the monument should stay inside the gate
okay,
because they're not trip generating type thing. But however we treat Gateway Boulevard, we should treat tree line the same way.
and if that's the case,
Then-
then we.
Then we're not gonna do what Bob is saying,
Correct. We're gonna do from front of walk to
Yeah.
front of walk.
which we talked about last meeting. So
Which would- which would
we're gonna
be-
treat tree line that way.
Walk to back of
We're
walk.
gonna treat
Yeah,
tree
back-
line the same
Back of
way.
walk to back of walk. Yeah.
Yeah, so if we're gonna treat tree line the same way, then it's.
Then you would be consistent.
So then you're $40,000, so from sidewalk to that fence, and the monuments stays inside 002.
And what I guess I'm saying, in the numbers here, why would we do that if we're going to go outside the wall, get rid of everything outside the wall.
Because what we're saying is we're gonna do this in Gateway,
We're not talking about Gateway right now. I hear you. I hear you what you're saying.
so that would be the same thought process for the Gateway people.
Why do we change anything? We want to keep things the way they were. Why do we change it only part?
It'll be
Go right away
consistent.
and back to back of sidewalk.
Yeah, if you're gonna be, if you're gonna be consistent, because if that stuff is all going into the gateway side, then you have to be consistent. And that means,
Yeah,
like you do it over here, it's all falling now into that GFO one.
Yeah, I would be opposed on the gateway side to be paying for anything that's between.
Because it's gonna be a lot. And it's gonna be not consistent with all, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can tell you like. I can know 6 communities will be benefiting from, and now they wouldn't be paying.
If we stay consistent, back and walk to back and walk, wherever, we're on safe ground.
I love the way we selectively looked at what we're talking, and why did we move any of it? Keep all the commercial, all of that in Pelican, like it's been for 25 years. Why are we changing going forward?
Because we're trying to make it correct.
Well, we don't need it,
Because
you're
it's
right.
been an error.
If you want to make it correct, then take it all. But you're saying, oh, no, because it might impact somebody in Gateway.
No, that's not how we're saying that. That, I wanna be.
I'm not hearing the reason you don't want to do it is because Ed's worried.
Because if
If he
No,
loses
no,
that, that
instead,
comes
if
to
we
us.
do it that, okay, I'll speak for myself. If we do it in Pelican that way, then we're gonna use the same thought process and Gateway.
Okay, I'm okay with it.
But then I have to be fair, that it is not fair. I don't view as fair for the entire Gateway because the benefit is very selective to a few communities. It is not a benefit for all.
It's some benefit to everybody in this community. There's gonna be people that come in and I wouldn't blame them.
For yours, it'll be easy because the way it is set up, it is a benefit for all of you, but for us, would not.
Why should we change anything? You've never had the commercial properties as part of O1.
But
They
to
have
do it right.
always had O2.
But to do it right. If,
Wait a minute,
I
Ed is right.
I have
Excuse
said,
me, I was still talking. Right is whatever we decide to do. If we've done it for 25 years, to use your words, since Christ was a baby, what makes it now more right to change it?
because somebody could come in here and say, you're having me pay for something that I shouldn't be paying for. The plat is on their side.
And if it all stays in the O2 account, who is it that's gonna come? It doesn't impact.
Well, if
anybody.
it comes over here to our side,
We're not talking about that.
that, I thought that we were talking about that we were going to pay for that. We're paying for that cost.
But I'm saying, don't change a thing from what we did it a year ago.
So then
All of that-
nothing on tree line comes over to 001.
Right, everything stays on O2 like it is now. Sorry. If you're gonna move it, don't split the baby, move it. And if you're not gonna move it,
And I can see somebody over there saying something, especially somebody on the outside, saying, why am I picking up the tab
because they've always
for the deal? That's not my cost. And we're just,
we're really selecting what's the right thing.
we're going to sort of, I think what we need, you said right. I think what we need to have Tony do is do the research to be able to tell Russ what the deal is that we need to do. We can't sit here and be chasing alternatives that are not factual. We can't do that.
Yeah, what it looks like right now, just looking at portions of that survey, there's that's ALBE, Association Landscape Buffers. That's dedicated in favor of the Pelican Reserve Community Association. And it varies in width like this to wide, it widens. And in there, looking at this, trying to discern with the graphics, which like the privacy wall and the chain link fence are within that, are within, and sometimes in the middle, sometimes on the edges, it varies because of the width varies of that.
The fence wasn't put in with the survey line, it's just put in
But it was put in within the easement.
within the.
Let me ask this question.
It appears.
If you
Okay,
would
so
take,
Tony, what you're saying is that really the association should be managing that. They have the cost of that.
That's their easement. It appears that that's
So
their
if you
easement of the
wanted to
plat.
do tree line just like Gateway Boulevard, then the association would have to start doing that maintenance.
Correct.
And
That's how we do
that
it,
landscaping,
yes.
just like it is on the rest of Gateway Boulevard.
If it's all located within the association landscape buffer easement, yes.
And to the extent that everything we have done in Pelican to make our landscape align to what our contractor's been doing twice a year.
Okay.
We went to every parcel that would fit into this kind of a category.
Yeah.
And we went to them and said, give us an easement for it.
Okay,
If you don't give us an easement, then you assume the cost.
and Bob, we can still do that.
Okay, but, okay, if they don't want it, if the association doesn't want it, then it's coming back upon the district.
Okay,
Right.
and then it
Okay.
stays in the 002 account.
No, if it comes back, that's the crux. If it comes back to the district, it should be in the 01 because everything should be there.
Oh, okay,
That's where I'm looking at.
okay.
It's either all or none.
So the issue is right now, outside the wall, there is a distance that makes up the easement that has been improved for landscaping, I'm assuming.
It
If
appears
you go up that wall, you see mulch, you see trees, you see bushes. Outside that is grass. And grass to the sidewalk, and then from the sidewalk to the road is whatever.
There's a
Combination of
multimodal
trees
path in
and-
the middle of it.
Combination of
It
trees.
meanders. It's not that clean. The multimodal path goes, there's shrubbery on both sides of that, you know, okay.
Well, I think anything that's on the inside of the sidewalk is a no-brainer. That is a sidewalk or
within the right of way line of tree line, you mean?
I'm sorry,
Within the right of way of tree line.
within the right of way of tree line. That, I think that's off the table. That's a no-brainer. The issue is that this stuff that's between the wall and the boundary of the easement, that's what we're talking about.
Well, I doubt
And
that's
what we need is some idea of what that is. I can't believe that it's not consistent. If they had, if it's a 10-foot buffer easement like in most of Gateway, it's 5 feet on one side, 5 feet on
It's
the other side.
fine.
It bulges out in some spots, other spots it narrows.
And the landscaping is on
I'm
either side of
assuming that
that.
the wall did not follow the center line.
No, it's, I'll show you doing a breakdown.
What you're calling the wall is the fence, so that was an answer.
We need an answer to that before he goes and chases a goose, though.
To be honest with you, if we were going to make it match, my recommendation would be is to take the 160,000, which is, well, actually, it's gonna be a little bit less than that because we have to take out C5 too, whatever that's gonna be. To be consistent with what we're doing here at Gateway. That whole part, the 160,000 comes over to the Gateway side. The $40,000 stays in the Pelican Reserve side, and the 160 that comes over will not be a full 160 because C5 would have to pick up their portion, like you're picking up your portion outside of the gate. And then it's consistent with Gateway.
Where do we end up?
We're waiting on Tony.
Waiting on Tony.
Can you say that one more time for
Bob,
Bob?
there's $200,000 over there, right? 40,000 for the Pelican Preserve portion, 160,000 for the rest. My recommendation is to take the 160,000 less whatever the C5 portions, let's say it's 20,000, just for an example. So we'll take the $140,000, that goes into over the 001 account. The 20,000 is picked up by C5 and the 40,000 goes inside your wall or whatever, or wherever your landscape budget is. And then you're matching what you're doing over here. Now, the second alternative to that is that $40,000 could be measured two different ways because it's outside. You still want to use the trip. Well, it won't matter because your trip generation is the same inside as outside.
The easement took care of that.
But anyway, for measuring it, because it is along the roadway, but your trip generation is the same no matter what kind of unit you have in there. The only difference is the golf course would be paying.
So, Russ, can you point on here with what you just proposed, what that would, which column that would be and what the impact is to the Pelican Reserve trips?
You're talking about table 6?
Yes.
So you're telling me that as of right now, Pelican pays from the back of the wall to the back of the sidewalk, or no?
What I'm telling you is today, we pay for all that, both sides of the road.
Mhm.
Okay, and the proposed change is that we were paying for everything outside the gate. So
And
what he's offering is,
the cost? Do you know the cost?
yeah, we just got that, we didn't.
Can you tell?
200,000.
Because, I mean,
Total cost, because the portion that you're talking about, Flavia, is 100, it's
only years.
40.
40,000, correct.
Yeah, we're talking 40,000 on total.
Yeah, I think, because I'm looking at some areas, it looks like it'd be really easy, and in some areas, Like, look at this, it's just really.
But if you're looking at beep or anything.
Yeah, I know, but it gives you somewhat of.
It's an idea, but it looks like it's centered, the wall for most practical purposes, the wall's centered on the easement. But it varies.
So Bob, well, Russ, can you answer what column you're talking about?
It would be the one for the $50,000 to get.
So Pelican Preserve would go down how much?
Like reserve would go down, so it looks like it's 79.
$79. And then the commercials would go, the Pelican Preserve commercial would go up.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so Bob, other than, because that's the way we've always done it, what is your biggest concern with this?
Well, we've always had a lot of confusion about what we used to call the commercial versus now it's inside the gate, outside. This is one of the things, it's simple. If it's not inside the gate, it goes in O1. Everything that's inside target is an O2. Because I've always struggled with why we're taking the commercials, which I thought were financially advantageous to whoever has it, but that goes over to the O1. But now we've got this little sliver of 40,000. Oh, we don't want that.
But generally, you're going down.
And remember, the prior time, they weren't being charged for a road or
I know
anything
that,
like
I know that. And then again, if it's all now in O2, that will be a financial benefit.
But
We
not all.
weren't charging them, we were letting them get away with something. Now we've tuned into it. So again, if we didn't change a thing, I wouldn't say we're okay. If we kept all of what we have today in the new budget, but if we're hell bent on changing and making part of Gateway, or part of the commercial over to the O1, no, that takes it all. Why are we nitpicking about a 40 grand difference?
Well, what I would suggest, is we don't have the right to just do this without their permission. So perhaps before the public hearing, we request of the community association if they'd even entertain giving us an easement for it. Because if they say no, this is a moot point.
That's a big point. And that's what we've done consistently with every other parcel.
I don't think you want to open that can of worms.
Okay, we've done it about 30 times.
Everybody in Gateway will do the same damn thing.
Well, just for example, on the left-hand side, see that
I
meandering
can
line?
open that, I have that.
Yeah, that's the plat, the golf course plat.
Which
And
page is it?
Can you open that?
I can, yeah, which page is it?
you can see how it
It's
meanders.
120 meg, so it's gonna take a little bit.
I can send you the plat, the golf course. You can,
Just for me, it's 7,000 feet. I'll do that in a heartbeat. I
You
can
can send
get
it
rid of that in a heartbeat.
okay, Laura.
To clean in the net.
Okay.
I'll send you the plat too. That's just,
But see, you know,
Go to sheet four.
your point about the walls and doing things.
if you go to sheet 4,
Before.
yes.
Until Pelican went through the exercise.
There we go. And see how it meanders on the left-hand side if you want to blow it up.
Okay, until we went through the exercise of seeing who owned what we were maintaining as a district, we didn't know. That's why we did it.
And
If
it's
you go
taken
down a little
Tony,
further.
what, 2 years?
Over 2 years.
Over 2 years.
And we've now reconciled everything, but apparently this last parcel didn't hit our radar because it was outside the gate.
What are we looking at?
That's the golf course survey, but if you go a little bit further south, you'll see, there's a notation as to the ALBE width, but see how it varies, it kind of meanders?
So
Does the golf course survey mirror the easement?
It shows it, if you go, hey, go to sheet 7, okay,
I was making a little
It says-
bit, sorry.
What's ALBE stand for?
Association Landscape Buffer Easement. You need
Okay,
to
so
go-
that's the edge of the buffer easement.
If you can go south now. And keep going. Go to the next.
Well, then that raises a question, Tony. That's unlike what we've got in Gateway. Who owns the area in between the 2 points? What's that, no man's land?
Association. No, the association probably owns that.
All the way to the sidewalk.
Property between the golf course and the ALBE?
All the way to the sidewalk.
the common elements surrounding, just like with yours, the community association owns the common elements around that, the outside bit.
All the way to the sidewalk.
They're strapped parcels.
Go to sheet 6.
But my association owns to the backside of the easement, out the road. We own that.
Yeah, to the road.
And it's clear I've got a 10-foot easement that's on the backside back.
Right there.
So
If you look
that's
at
not
this-
what I'm seeing here.
In the
I'm
middle-
seeing a property line that represents the golf course, and I'm seeing an ALBE, which is,
Outside,
that says with varies, which, how in the hell do they describe that in an easement?
I mean, the
With
plat,
varies.
you got to see the tables in the plat to really appreciate it.
So you'll have to go see the tape. Okay, but my point is, who owns the land between the two?
The association,
Association.
The association.
yeah.
Association. Between sidewalks.
All the
This is
way
what I
to-
was trying to
Makes it even
say.
worse.
I'm just trying to.
I think it makes it simple, really. I think it makes it simpler, to be honest with you.
Which is they handle. So
They handle.
And then, I mean, yeah, just going back, this is exactly what we did when Keith was here with Timber Ridge. So, because they came to us and it was it was like over $100,000. And they said, this is the buffer, this is the palm tree trimming, and this is the mulch, and it's on us. And then we went, we researched it, and we're like, no, it's similar to this, it's association. And they didn't like the survey, they paid for an additional survey, and it was a waste of money for them because
Who had historically been paying?
their association, and it,
That's why
and then they were challenging on us and wanted them to make it part of the 001 and bring it to us, and we said no. We have the easement, we have the right of way, but it goes to here, so like literally we met there, we walked every single survey state with Keith.
see
And then we said no because of that.
the difference in this particular case, comparing the two,
Mhm.
is that we, the district, has historically maintained this. We didn't have the right to do it, but we've been doing it.
Tony, what does that mean on the plat, you lost it.
No, I'm going back.
What is that ALBE with varies means when I see the arrow off of the road right away, which I understand? That arrow looks like it goes to the golf course property line.
Okay, what you need to do for that, you need to look at the plat of the golf course, actually. And I just sent that to, there you go.
And then Bob, and on the same note, we had Eagle Point and Hampton Park just a few years back. That we were paying it, and then I believe there was an irrigation issue. We went back and realized that we were paying for that. So we notified the association and starting as 30 days, we realized that we were maintaining this irrigation and so they took it, and same thing with Hampton Park when they built the roof. So when we do find those parcels that we're not responsible, the HOA is responsible, historically, and as far as I know, since I've been here, every single time we pass it on to the association and they start handling those
That's
things.
not what we've done. at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what we have done in, those are the two that I can call out. If there's any more.
We found a number of policies.
Yeah.
Like 30 different. Some were association,
This
some
basically-
were individual homeowners.
Contrary to what
We
you
just said,
said,
since we have
this
historically
plat
maintained,
shows,
we will continue
Yeah,
to
that's
take,
not what we
and they
did.
gave us easements.
Every time we found that we're doing something that was not right, we made it right. It didn't feel right for
Well,
someone else because they're paying in it.
It's very-
But they're paying one way or another, but we passed it on to them.
It's a logic, we had on that. It wasn't to avoid
golf course
paying
property
property.
owner.
It was to
There's
maintain
nothing
control
community.
of what we did.
Mhm.
Because
We
we
need-
won't be
we need
taking
Tony
care of 40
to
feet of
get an
the
answer on it.
sidewalk area. And I'm taking care of the
I
other.
get that.
point. We wanted uniformity, and that was the overwhelming primary that we were trying to get. Primary reason was to make sure we kept using it.
And everybody gave us an easement,
Everybody did, without exception.
including the central.
Yeah, the only time we didn't get
Yeah,
the easement was for the Aviano cul-de-sac. They wanted to keep that part.
I think Pastorella, and I don't have the graphic, has a graphic that they took the golf course survey, they took the leap information and they put everything on there for ownership and easement purposes. I don't have that one. I think when we were going through everything, Bob, I think they prepared that when they were doing the GIS.
Well, I know this was never a focus, but we weren't aware that it was.
I think they did.
But they may be right.
I can try to call Will. Find out.
So anything else?
So I still don't know where it
Like-
is.
Well, what's nice of Tony giving us like a final, information on this, maybe a recap, and then we'll give direction to us.
Well, I guess the question is, the board's question is, as you can tell, the landscape buffer easement meander, it's not typical parallel, it does all this. And then the question is, where's the location of the wall and the fence within it? And this golf course survey appears to show some of that. As to where it's located, and it also appears to be within the landscape buffer easement. And then you have a distance between the wall and the fence and the road right of way, it varies, again, depending upon which portion you're looking at. Then you have the turn lane, which makes it a little bit more interesting, because the turn lane is owned by Lee County.
One of the things I was gonna mention that when you think about the landscape maintenance and they're gonna do it for the wall, that a lot of that landscape is up against the wall, because the rest of it's just mowing for the most part.
It sure be a lot simpler. Because this drawing right here makes it perfectly clear. The golf course owns, on the other side of the golf course is the easement, all the way to the edge. There isn't any portion that, the Pelican Reserve owns in that. That's not shown on this drawing. It'd be easier just to be able to say, from the back side of the walk to the wall is a part of the landscape buffer easement for purposes of our deal, period, and be done with it.
Just like you do in all your
Like
places.
we do all over here, and be done with it. Make it a lot cleaner.
And in reality, then we would need to do the same for C5.
Whatever it is over there,
They need to take that over.
make it a lot simpler. Because especially with this wavering, varying, I don't know what, who somebody was asleep when they did this, but this is ridiculous.
So we've got a lot of it like that. If we take the $40,000 and divide it by the 7,500 homes between the two communities.
Yeah.
It's $5 a year.
Yeah, that's, we,
Now, if we go to the association and
say
say,
Rust have calculated.
okay, we
It's
go
not
to
worth
this, if we go to the association and say, this isn't ours anymore, we don't want to do it. So now you're picking up the cost of this. We're sticking them with a bill that they have never had to pay before. But yet we're taking away the commercial that did pay for it in years past. You know, it looks like we're trying to do it both ways. That's why I would suggest, I don't care which we decide, but let's be consistent with it. If we don't want to get into the ins and outs of this, I'm fine. And keep all that commercial stuff together and Pelican will pay it like they always have done in '02. I didn't make choice.
But it's not what they're responsible for.
Even though you're taking,
Because we
But we have-
represent commercial too, like, so
But here again, you're picking and selected plumbing. We didn't have to move it. It has been done 25 years within Pelican. We don't have to
We're
move it.
trying to correct it. That's
We
what
only want to correct certain portions, Ed.
we're trying to correct them all, I believe. The thing we're running into is the complicated nature of the beast. How do you define it?
I was gonna say, if you're taking away the commercial, but you're also taking away their cost from you.
We know, absolutely. But I believe that the cost to us is less than the revenue that it's generating. I think the tax revenue from those sources is of a financial benefit to whoever gets it. Because we have a revenue, a tax increase in your assessment, and we have a cost down here. So if we keep all of it, no harm, no foul, we've been doing it 25 years, we'll keep on doing it. But if we want to take the gravy out of here and then get down to the cost and say, oh, there's $40,000, you guys don't be paying that. That's where I say, hey, that's not right. So do it one way or the other, but don't,
Tony's got to come up with something where we're at and what the definition of who owns.
it doesn't.
Well, no, again, just real quick. If you look at LEAP, I'm recognizing the horse, it matches up with what you see on the plats. You can tell where that property is encumbered by that landscape buffer easement also. And then you can also see the fence and wall pretty well on this.
that's what I was looking at.
Yeah, so I mean,
From,
They all kind of match up.
it wasn't, it was very clear.
and then when you have the golf course survey, where's that again, Pelican survey? The colored one, yeah. There again, if you go up a little bit further north, see where the privacy wall is. They have to keep them. Yeah, maybe, no, you can go, see, it says privacy wall.
That's the fire
One
station.
point, what, bottom, it says 1.5.
Well, see, the one thing that we have here is this was a deal that was done for the golf course.
Right,
So they were only concentrating on defining the property over the golf course.
correct.
They were not responsible for or in charge of trying to locate the easement.
But they did.
But they did.
Did
I don't see
ALBE,
that.
They did on the entire property. They did a great job.
I don't see that here though.
it says ALBE, I see that, it says width varying, ALBE.
They just put ALB with varies. They don't say who owns it.
That's correct. But that is owned by the association and the dedication is to the association.
Yeah, that, I agree with that.
Let me give you a simple math equation. $110,000 is what was being put onto the outside. That was your outside portion, correct? And that was spread among all of the parcels out there, but also the parcels inside. You were all sharing in that. So if you take the 110,000 and you multiply that by the 87.95%, which is your allocation versus the 12.05%. That comes to $96,745. But, and if we're going to do now, let's increase that to 200,000, you're going to go up even more. But if you push all of that over into the GF001, you're only going to be paying 40,000 versus the 96,000. Outside the gate.
Are you on that website? You're on that site. Click on.
I'm
click on
following
the
you.
area.
I think.
What I don't know is what the revenue.
Click on the area inside.
Oh, by the way,
The revenue is going to be whatever you're.
once again, just real quick, reading from the plat. The plat says dedicated to Pelican Reserve Community Association, Inc., its successors and kinds. All easements herein labeled Association Landscape Buffer Easements, ALBE, with the responsibility for maintenance. So that's. Then from the plat, you can see how it varies, and you have all those columns.
Bingo. It's like what-
Still, in my humble little brain, I would like to see tree line in this methodology, tree line treated the same as Gateway Boulevard.
I would agree
That's
with
what we're
that.
trying to do.
That's what we're trying to do, right?
That's
what
I'm
we're
fine with
trying
that.
to do.
And that's just what I was telling you from a math perspective. It's less for Pelican Reserve to do that.
Yeah, I think this picture that Laura's got on that right now, pretty well printed out, it indicates that that's golf course.
Well, the left is, Pelican Reserve, yeah. It's a golf cart path outside the track, that's the ALBE track.
Yeah, the golf course stops right there and then it goes into the ABLE or whatever you call
But
it.
I don't care of this. Treat it
Yeah,
the same.
let's just do what Carol said. I agree with that.
So you want the
Make a
40,000
determination.
of that stretch to be on community association.
And then we can always go to the community association and say, do you want to give us an easement? And if they say yes, then that goes into the 002 account. It does not go into the 001 account.
But across the street, it all goes into the 01. Nobody gets anything to say about it. Okay, I would like to be a uniform. That's my opinion.
And it also gives you control of the landscaping. If it's within your budget on your side versus it being outside and just strictly the gateway.
That's nothing. So
Russ, are you clear?
I'm clear. Are you clear? Are we all clear?
Yep.
No?
Stick your finger sharp.
If we can do that, tree line the same as Gateway Boulevard. I am very comfortable then in basically wrapping up both waterways and roads. I think if you can,
They are where they are.
right. I mean, I don't think there's any more decisions to make. I think they're pretty clear. And I think we could put those two sections basically to bed and say, yes, we agree on that. That's my opinion. We do have a few more minutes left, and I wanted to bring up another topic, if I could. Parks and Recreation. I'm trying to get in my mind a picture of what now, if we go with the recommendation that is made and we pay the 0.15, right?
No.
0.15,
0.15.
okay. How will the people in Pelican be treated? By this, I mean, does a person from Pelican now have the right to, I don't know, play pickleball?
No different.
Or,
No different.
No
They're part of the
different.
gateway.
Can you
Always
use the
have
dog
been part of
park?
the gateway. To go right
They
in.
can do whatever they want, just
Yeah.
do it. There is no different. They're just having a discounted rate for full usage.
just like C5.
Mhm.
Anybody that's inside Gateway has the access to these facilities.
They'll
period.
come in and get the free cards for, the pool, they will do anything, the only thing that we charge the gateway, I think is cards for the. For
But
now,
you
for the
could pay, you
dog
pay the
park.
resident rate versus the non-resident rate
For the
If
dog
you-
park.
for the dog.
The only thing that we charge in addition, because we're trying to make it up, is the dog park. But given that we're gonna start construction soon, you're not even gonna worry about that, but all they have to do is come in and show a driver's license, get a pool card, and once we have the park built, they will, if there's a car access, they will get a card for pickleball, it will, that's no different.
Okay. Interesting. Because, and are we going to open that up also to the commercial areas
They always have been,
and C5?
they always have been. If they're paying, for like,
We're not C5 and commercial
Not
over in
C5,
Pelican, but
Pelican.
anybody,
on this side, yeah.
anybody who was paying into the Parks and Rec budget was treated that way. You guys were not paying into the Parks and Rec budget, which is why you weren't. So if we go with this 0.15 and everybody except for Gateway pays the 0.15 and Gateway pays 1, you all have the same equal access to the facilities.
So you just
So
get,
commercial also?
Yes.
yes. But the only difference is financially, you guys will pay less and you have full run of the stock, we'll pay a little bit more and have full run of stock.
You pay less and get the same benefits.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I doubt that anybody is going to come over here to the pickleball courts as opposed to the ones that are very close to their
Yeah.
house.
Unless you're gonna.
But I'm just saying,
But there is, I'll tell
is
you this,
it possible?
it's an option and I'll tell you this, during repair times and during times that things need to be needed, because that just happened at Stony Brook. Their pool is at 5 months, 6 months, so how long it has been? So we had an influx of people that use their pool, but they had to empty their pool and they're doing massive repairs, so the residents still had the ability to come in and we issue a lot of cards to the pool for people that didn't use it.
Okay,
So if you guys need to do something with your courts or anything like that, there will be no
That'd be
disruption to them. They can just come and use it here more often and things like that.
okay. I still thought maybe that you guys would say, no.
Nope.
No,
No way.
They're paying
Say, oh, no.
They know we'll never do it.
You can
I know.
use 15% of the time. You can.
There's never been, never been a pool pass issued.
Not us.
We have not had a single pool pass issued to anyone in Gateway,
I know.
other than myself.
Well, because we have 3 of them, you only have 1.
We got 5 of them, really.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, the 2
the cell phone.
white ones. Okay, okay, thank you.
right, so
That
that's all.
answers that question.
Okay, so thank you. Or you may have something
I
else?
only have one more thing. I just wanted to kind of wrap it up. What I wanted to do is add that sentence 5, which we talked about on page 5. And then I'm going to add the gateway, I'm going to add a category of gateway administration. And that's where we're going to put like the sheriff's, their cost, just like at Pelican Reserve, which you do, is it Fort Myers?
Yeah.
Did you get- So that will be put into, they'll have their own allocation and measurement.
You guys, make sure you sign in, please.
Is there gonna be anything in there other than sheriff or something?
No,
I was the only one
that's the only one I could see that is different. I will revisit it though, just to see if there's something else. And that's all part of the budgeting process. I mean, we'll go through the budget again and say, hey, these line items need to fall here and here and go holy water on it.
Thank you. No more.
Any questions for me?
No, we're good. So go ahead and take a 5-minute.
Yep.
break.
Very well.
Yeah, what do we, on the regular session, what, 11A? Is there a decision there? Yeah.
Just, it's
It's a discussion.
like Carol requested last time, it's there in case you have one.
Okay, I guess we'll try to figure out, Russ.
Visit if you think.
We'll get that in and out.
Yeah. that's okay.
All right, thank you, Russ.